Okay, so now we're going to move to the next item in our agenda, and that is going to be downloading our WCTC borders, okay? You're going to notice here that for number 3, download the borders, there are 3-inch borders and there are 2 metric borders, okay? The 3-inch borders, we call them A, B, and C. A is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper sitting, I think you call it landscape, so that the 11.5 dimension is horizontal, the 8.5 is vertical, okay? The B size drawing is an 11 by 17, sitting horizontal as well, so that's the next size. And then a C size is gonna be 2 B sizes, vertically, so it's a bigger. So smallest, medium, biggest border, okay, for English or in inch borders. You wanna download each one of these and put them in a folder that you can go back to on a regular basis, whether that is on your OneDrive or it's on a jump drive or something like that, okay? But it's going to be where when you create your drawings for me now, going forward from this module forward, you will always be putting borders on. And I don't want anybody to say to me, oh, I downloaded them, but they're not on my OneDrive. You can always go back to this module, and you're going to notice not only are they in the agenda here, but if I go to module 5, you're going to notice that you can always download them again. Okay, so I've got them here as well. So I'm in the agenda items here. So in both places. The other 2 borders you want to do are going to be our metric borders. I only have 2 of them. They essentially are the A size and the B size. The A4 is an 8.5 by 11. So that's like an A size border for us. And then the A3 is the 11 by 17 or the B size border, okay? They have their metric equivalents, but that's what it essentially equates to. So go ahead and download each one of those in a directory that you can recall, like I said, either on a flash drive or on your OneDrive that you can go back to, okay? Now, when you go into and you create new drawings, so when you start from scratch and you create your views, for instance, you're going to pick one of those templates and everything's going to be set up in the background. Your layers, your line types, the text, styles, and all the dimension stuff that we did, okay? But let's say you created some drawings where you did the views already, but you didn't have all that dimension stuff in the background, like module 3 and module 4 that we were working on, okay? We are going to be adding dimensions to some of the module 3 stuff that we did, okay? So you're going to notice down here, we're going to do 2 practice problems. They're going to be the saddle bracket and the anchor base. Those should sound familiar because in module 3, we did the 3 views of those, okay? Now we're going to be adding the borders, the WCTC borders, and the dimensioning. But those don't have our dimensioning styles on them. They have the layers, but they don't have the dimensioning style. So what we need to do is there's a little bit different procedure for opening up these drawings so that we can get those, so we don't have to redo all of that stuff that we just did. And that is a PDF that you see right here, okay? So this is using existing files with drawing borders, okay? So this is also another kind of procedure for us, and I have it printed underneath here, okay? So what we're going to do is we'll follow this along. So number 1 says open AutoCAD and start with the appropriate template. So since we're going to be doing the saddle bracket is in inch units. So you want to open up your WCTC inch template, just like you normally would. So if I start new, okay, and I'm going to say, I want my WCTC inch template. Okay. Now, everything looks good here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my file. I can't just open my file. I want to bring this file into my new environment that I created. Okay. So I cannot open up the saddle bracket. I have to insert the saddle bracket, okay, or import it. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, which is just to the right of the Home tab. And the very first command on that ribbon on the left-hand side is called Insert. If I arrow down and expand that, at the very bottom, I want to insert blocks from library. Okay, blocks from library. Even though it says blocks, I can insert any file in. I have a file. The saddle bracket is a file. I'm going to insert that in, and they call those blocks in AutoCAD. So I'm going to click on blocks from library. Now what's going to happen is this dialog box is going to open. Now this dialog box, depending on where it's at, usually it's over on the right-hand side, probably opened up over there, okay? Now we're going to arrow down. Is it here? No. Why am I not seeing it? I don't want my current. Hold on. Let me move this. Why is it not giving me the down? Hold on. Let me open it up again. Blocks from library. There it is. So now you're going to see that there are two downward arrows. One says filter, but then the one down below it, I'm not sure what it says, but you're going to arrow down and we want to go to browse block libraries. Now this means that I can browse to where my file is, my saddle bracket file is, okay? So I'm going to browse block libraries and you're going to get this kind of standard dialog box for going into different directories. I'm going to downward arrow and I'm going to, mine are on my OneDrive, mechanical design courses. I have mine in tech drafting and my module assignments, module 3. I don't know where you have yours. You want to find where your module 3 is. And that was where we did our saddle bracket. Okay. And it was the 3 views. So I'm going to open up my saddle bracket file. You should get a preview here. Okay. And we did the 3 views with, you know, all the appropriate layers. And I'm simply going to click open. Okay, open. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to notice in that what we call the blocks dialog box, you're going to see a little preview of this saddle bracket down here. Okay, before we click it, you're going to go down here below options. You're going to notice that there is a scale. Change it to uniform scale by down arrowing here. Change it to uniform scale. That way, when you put the 1 over on the right-hand side, we always insert files as 1, okay? Borders can be a different thing because we're going to fit those around, but our files have to be 1. If I do a scale here, you're going to notice I can change my X, Y, and Z to different values. I always want that to be the same in all directions. So I just always put this to uniform scale. So it's just 1 number I have to worry about rather than 3. Okay, that's it. Make sure that that's set as 1. Now, when I pull this in, if you're already clicking ahead of me, dragging it into my area does not work. It's a click, click. Okay, it's a click, click. So I click it and I release. And when I move my mouse over into my drawing area, haven't clicked yet, it's like on the end of my cursor. Do you see that? And then my next left click is going to be placing it. And I'm just going to click and that's going to be it. Okay? Can place it anywhere in there. So again, I'm going to undo that. It's a left click, not a drag. I know it feels like dragging should work, but it doesn't. And then you're going to click a second time to place it. Okay. Now it's in there at 1-to-1 scale. I can just click out of my dialog box and I like to kind of, you know, put this right about here. All right. So my file is in here. Now, if I click on any of the items, lines, circles, anything in that file, notice that it's all one entity. Okay, so it brought it in. That's why they call it a block. It's now like one single thing. It's not like separate entities anymore. We want to explode that. Okay, so we're going to go back to our home ribbon. And just down below, we've used this explode before when we wanted to explode. I think it was a leader line or something. Okay, we're going to do that here again. We want to get it into its separate entities. I'm going to explode that file. Now, if you didn't have it selected and you hit explode, it's going to ask you to select any one of the items in there. Now, when I go over the top after I explode it, notice that now I'm only, if I click on something, I'm only selecting 1 item at a time. And that's what I want. I want separate items here. Okay. So if you click on any one of these, make sure that it's not all one block. And if it is, you got to go to the explode on the home menu. Okay. All right. So now I've got my 3 views in here. The next thing I want to do, catch ourselves up. Okay. Uniform, hold that in. I exploded. Now we're going to pull our border in. So if we look at our procedure, we are on step 8. Okay, insert the WCTC inch, in this case, border, because it's inch units in. And we're going to use that very same process. Okay, so I'm going to go back to AutoCAD. I'm going to go to my Insert tab, down arrow under Insert, and go to Blocks from Library. Click on that. Now, you probably have saddle bracket in there right now, right? Okay, arrow down. And now you're going to browse block libraries to where you saved your WCTC borders. So if I click on browse block libraries, now I can navigate to where I have my borders. What's this one? I have my borders here. And I'm going to pick B-size border, B-size border. Okay, the B-size border. Okay. Should get a preview over on the right-hand side, and we're going to hit open. Same thing. I'm going to be pulling it in, and it's going to be a click, click. Now, right now, my uniform scale is at 1. So we're going to see. I'm going to be pulling in this border 1 to 1. So it's 8.5 by, or it's 11 by 17. I'm going to see if it fits around my area. Okay. So I'm going to left click it, left click, don't drag. And then I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to make sure that I can position it around my, and you can still, you know, use your pan button so you can get it around here, roller out or in. And as long as I can get it around, I'm just going to place it right about there, left click. And now a dialog box is going to come up for me to fill in the information in the title block. Okay. So the first thing is material. Okay. I think I have material set here as steel. Now, anything in the title block has to go in all caps, just like dimensions, any other text on a drawing has to be all caps. So everything in our title block has to be all caps. Now, this is the scale. We didn't change the scale of our border. It came in 1 to 1, right? I didn't have to change it to 2 or anything like that. So that means that this is going to be 1:1, 1 to 1 scale. The date, put today's date. So it is, so you can either put 9/15/2025, or you can write out September or SEPT. Drawing number, we're just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for right now. Part name is saddle bracket. And then drawn by, remember, we don't put our full name. We put initials or your first initial, last name. So I put KRR. Okay. So all caps, all the information. Now, what's nice about this, when I hit OK, if I zoom in on my title block, it's filled in everything for me. I don't have to worry about that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So before we start looking at dimensions and things here, let's close out or X out of our border. Now, the border, we do not have to explode. It can stay together. Actually, I prefer it to stay together. Otherwise, you've got all these separate lines. But what we are going to do is we're going to go to our home ribbon. We're going to select any one of the lines on our border. We are not exploding it, but we are going to put it on our border layer. So just select any line on the border, click it. And now when I click off of it and hit escape, notice that my border is blue, and that's the color I want it to be. Okay. Now I can zoom extents to kind of get this all here. And you should, like I said, the border can remain the same. So if you hover over the border, it's all going to be 1. But if you hover over any individual line on the 3 views of my saddle bracket, they're going to be separate. Okay. So questions about this? All right. Good idea to do a quick save. So we're going to do a file, save as, and now you're going to save this as your module 5 drawing. So if you do, I don't know if you do, depending on how you've been setting up your, filing system. I do have mine as separate. So I'm going to go into my tech drafting. Oops, cancel. And I'm going to go to module assignments. I'm going to go to my module 5. Okay. And I'm going to call this the saddle bracket drawing. Okay. And I don't want to call it saddle bracket because that was a separate file, right? That was just the views. Now it's the actual drawing. So I'm just going to hit save here, and you're going to notice up on top, you now resaved it. Okay. Make sure before we leave tonight, that you have it in another place because we will be uploading this for our practice problems. All right. Okay. So now that's how we pull in so that we don't have to change things. So now you're going to notice that if you arrow down by your dimensions, now you have all your dimension styles in here because that was part of your template, okay? If you would just pull in that drawing, that saddle bracket drawing, none of that would be there and you'd have to do all of that work. So pulling in, starting with your template, inserting your file as a block, exploding it, then inserting your border, leaving it as a block, but then just putting it on the right layer. And now we're ready to put our dimensions on. Okay. So I'm going to stop this recording here in case anybody wants to go back and just go through that process for other parts.